Which is best, the new Toyota bZ4X or the Kia EV6? Well, in this video, we're going to find out, because I'm going to compare their prices, their real world range, their exterior design, their interiors, their technology, their practicality, and what they like to drive. Also, I'm going to compare their performance and braking capability, because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching CarWow. Buy, sell, CarWow. Let's start this video by talking about cold hard cash. So the Kia starts at £41,000, whereas the Toyota starts at £42,000. However, as you move up the range, the Kia starts to become more expensive, but that's largely because it is more powerful. This particular car I've got here costs £52,000, whereas this particular version of the bZ4X costs £48,000. When it comes to charging, the Kia has the coolest charging port. Look, you press it and it opens electrically like that. This just has a big, silly, massive flap that you open manually. In terms of their charging, this can charge at 150 kilowatts at a DC charger and at a maximum of 6 kilowatts at an AC charger. So that's your wall box, so it's quite slow. This can charge at over 200 kilowatts at a DC fast charger and up to 11 kilowatts on an AC charger. So not only has it got the better charge port, it's also got the better charging ability. As for the batteries, the Kia also has the biggest battery. That's 73 kilowatt hours. This has a 71 kilowatt hour battery. In terms of the range, it's 286 miles for the dual motor version of this, going up to 370 miles for the single motor version. With the Kia, the single motor version can do up to 325 miles or 300 miles for the dual motor version. That's the theory. What is the reality when you're driving them for real? Now, claimed efficiency is all well and good, isn't it? What is the car going to do in the real world? Well, I've driven a course in this Toyota and it's averaging an efficiency of 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. When you multiply that out by the battery capacity of 71 kilowatt hours, that means this car is returning 250 miles. It's pretty good. So I've driven the same route in the Kia, so let's see what its efficiency is. Well, it's averaging the exact same 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. However, this has a bigger battery pack. So when you multiply it up by its 73 kilowatt hours, it means that this would have a range of 260 miles on a full charge. A bit better then than the Toyota. So the Kia has the best real world range, and I think it looks the best as well. I really like the design of this car. The rear with that ducktail spoiler sort of reminds me of an Aston Martin. The roof design is like that of a fighter jet, and the front is cool. One thing I don't like though, are the door handles. They look good because they're flush, but the way you operate them is a bit annoying. You have to press in there like that, and then it's sort of like shaking someone's hand. I'd rather have a normal handle, I would, especially as these don't always go in properly. Look. The thing that annoys me about the Toyota's design is this black cladding everywhere, even on the bonnet, and the way it just cuts through the charging port cover. This is the range topping car. You'd think that would be body coloured, and they just have it like this on the entry level model to get you to spend more to get rid of it. Other than that though, I think it's a nice piece of design, the rest of the car. It's not as cool as the Kia, but for a family friendly electric SUV, it's not bad. The interior of this Toyota is actually quite quirky and interesting. The way you've got this steering wheel here on this pod, and the dials are actually above it, a bit like in Peugeots. Sometimes, depending on your seating position, the top of the steering wheel rim can block the dials, which isn't ideal. You have a lot of information displayed up there, and you've got this main central screen. On entry-level cars, it's slightly smaller, but the rest of the range gets this bigger display. It's all right. You know, it's not the fastest to respond, and some of the graphics are a little bit dull, but overall, it's acceptable. Quality in here is good though, and there's plenty of practicality with storage areas down here, big door bins, and the seats, they're nice and comfy as well. The inside of the Kia is a bit more conventional than the Toyota in the way that you look at the dials through the steering wheel and they're very clear. In fact, the screen is really nice, big and bright, as is the main infotainment screen. And there's lots of information on it as well. I think it's slightly better, the system, than in the Toyota. I quite like this feature as well, the way you toggle between the heater controls and the satellite navigation and stereo controls by pressing this button here. They are touch sensitive buttons, which are a bit hard to use while you're driving, but it's better than going through some menus on the screen itself. Got this big center console here and some storage underneath it, a bit like on the Toyota. And the seats, they're firmer than in the Toyota, but I don't think they're any less comfortable. Overall though, I think this cabin has a little bit more wow factor just because of the shiny bits of trim. Quality is pretty much on a par with the Toyota really, I can't split them there. There's plenty of space here in the back of the Kia EV6. Look, loads of knee room, lots of headroom. People over 6 foot will be fine. And you can even carry 3 adults in the back at once because it's quite a wide body and there's enough space. It's actually quite easy to fit a baby seat in the back because the rear doors open nice and wide and it's quite spacious back here. Finding the ISOFIX anchor points is a little bit hard at first, but once the seat is mounted, there's plenty of room to actually deal with your baby, although you do have to bend down a little bit because this is not a very high riding car. One thing that I do like about it is this though, look. Oh, we've got these USB ports there. It's a really nice touch, that. The location of the USB ports on the Toyota aren't quite so clever because your cable ends up dangling around your ankles rather than just coming straight out there like on the Kia. Other than that though, this car is superior in the back in almost every single way. There's even more knee room, even more headroom. It's even more relaxing back here. It's even better for carrying 3 people in the back at once, and it's easier to fit a child seat. Admittedly, the doors don't open quite as wide, but there's still enough space. And because the actual seat is raised up, because this is more of a jacked up car, it's easy to put the seat in and to find the ISOFIX anchor points. This is a really spacious, practical family car. Oh, and if you like videos such as this and you want to make sure you don't miss out on any other uploads, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on. That way you won't miss out. Right, let's compare how these cars drive. I'm going to start off in the Toyota because it's the newest. The seating position nice and high, great view out. The only problem is the thick rear pillars, which do create a bit of a blind spot when you're pulling out at kind of filter junctions and looking over your shoulder. The rest of the seating position is bang on. Also, it's a very easy car to drive in town. The suspension does a brilliant job at ironing out the bumps. The brakes are nice and progressive. The steering is light. It's manoeuvrable because it's got a tight turning circle. I just wish it had full 1-pedal drive. So the regen mode, it will really slow you down quite nicely, but it won't bring you to a complete stop. At some point you do have to hit the actual brakes if you want to stop fully. On a twisty road, this car isn't quite so impressive. It does an all right, you know, it'll go around corners, it won't fall over, and it doesn't lean too much. But if you get a bit too enthusiastic, what happens is the front wheels start to run out of grip and it soon pushes wide, so you do have to be a bit careful not to get carried away. This is not a car you're going to go hooning down a road for fun, but it's not really designed to be that, is it? Okay, then the Kia. It does feel like a stiffer, sportier car. That means in town, you do feel the bumps a bit more. It's not uncomfortable, but it just doesn't glide over bumps in the same way that the Toyota does. Also, the visibility isn't quite so good. So for starters, you're sat lower down. However, the dash is quite low, so the view forward's really good, but this is quite a blind spot, and the back window is small, and there's a big rear pillar as well, which gets in the way. One thing I do prefer about it in town, compared, is that you do have full 1-pedal driving. If you lift off the accelerator, it will slow the car very, very dramatically, and make it stop entirely. You don't have to touch the brakes at all. The Toyota will always be a bit of a creep. Also, you've got 5 different modes of regen as well, so you can actually really control the slowing down of the car using the paddles rather than using the brake or by lifting off. It's really, really very good. I like that. Where the Kia does feel a little bit better than the Toyota is on a country road. Being low and with stiffer suspension means that when you chuck it into a corner, it just seems to stay a little bit flatter. It has a more sporty feel. The motor seems to have a bit more punch as well out of the bends. You can have fun in electric cars, you know, although this one's always beeping at you slightly if you start weaving over the white lines, which I suppose is good for safety. What's also good for safety is this, look, you can get it with these cameras that will actually show you what's in your blind spot when you're indicating. That's really cool, although I've probably just confused everyone behind me right now. The boot capacity of the Toyota is 452 litres, which is all right, but not amazing. But it's a nice, useful square shape. Look, no load lip either. The Kia's boot capacity is 490 litres, so it is slightly larger. It doesn't really have a load lip, just a slight hump. And once again, nice square shape. However, when you fold the seats down the Kia, which you can do actually just from here, which is handy. Do you know what? I'm going to have to use the 7-year warranty on this car because that is not working. I felt it break. Speaking of warranties, you get a 5-year warranty with the Toyota, though if you have it serviced at a Toyota dealer after that warranty period for the next 5 years, then you get an extra year of warranty up to a maximum of 10 years in total. Back to the seats. This one should work. Yes, that's better, isn't it? Look, there you go. If you need more room, you can obviously pack this car quite full. However, with the Toyota, although you do have to lean in to fold the seats down, there you go, which is a bit more of a faff, although less likely to break, as you can see. Because it's a slightly taller car, you will be able to pack more in it with the seats folded. Now we better get the Kia to a dealer. The Kia may have a broken seat release, but I'm going to forgive it because, look, underneath here, we have a little storage area. It's not huge, but you can fit some things in there if you want to. I just like the fact that you have gas struts for the bonnet, whereas with a Toyota, you don't have either. No gas struts, no storage space at all, not for anything. Look, what you can see there is the motor. So you can get two versions of this car. There's the front wheel drive single motor, which has 204 horsepower, or this dual motor, which has another motor on the rear axle, which has 217 horsepower. With the Kia, you can have a single motor version, which is rear drive only, and it has 218 horsepower. Or you can have this dual motor version of the Kia, which has another motor on the front axle, and that has 325 horsepower. Now, let's launch them. I'm going to start with the bZ4X. Let's see what it can do. I'm going to use my specialist timing gear up here. Right, let's do it. I'm going to launch it. What am I going to do? Okay, there we go. That's 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. That's okay. It's not the fastest electric car, but it's a decent benchmark. And when you consider that Toyota says it's going to do 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds, that's a lot better than they reported. Now for the Kia, what's this going to do? Oh, it feels quicker. Feels quicker. There's the time, 4.74. Now it's supposed to do it, according to Kia, in 5.2 seconds, so it's way quicker. It feels quicker than that Toyota. So then, what's my final verdict? Which of these cars is best? Well, I'm going to let my bottom decide. Whichever one it plonks itself on is the winner. It is the Kia. The Toyota is a really, really good family SUV, but the Kia is just that little bit better. I prefer the way it drives, the way it looks, and it has a slightly better range. And that's why it wins this test.